Okay, so good morning. Welcome to the Global Center for Christ Consciousness. We now have John DeMars, our wonderful musician, playing for us today.
Happy New Year. Happy Winter Wonderland. Winter Warriors coming out.
Beloved Father, Mother God, whose presence is heaven. In creating us in your image, this means heaven is here now within us. We ask, beloved Father, Mother God, ignite within us the courage, the ability, the knowing to live that light, to live that life. Show us and guide us on how to receive the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother who comes into us and births in our heart the Christ presence. We call upon our brother, the Lord, beautifully. We call upon this humbly, the Christ, Jesus, our brother. We ask that you work with the mother in every way possible to birth in us the comforter, the guide, the teacher of all teachers, the healer of all healers, the presence of love in us, and let this live in and through us so that we may be profound examples to others as we learn to live and integrate this into our own being. Praise to you, God, and giving deepest thanks to you for all that you've created us to be and now that we are learning to become. And so it is.
Please join me in reading our mission statement, which you can find on this white card. Together we say, the Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And now for our sacred reading. From White Eagle. Whatever your occupation while in your physical body, remember it is a form of service. However humble or even humdrum your work may be to you, it is your special assignment. And through your work on earth, you can make your contribution to the happiness of all. Work hand in hand with God and be thankful for every opportunity to serve which is laid before you. And so it is. And now, I welcome once again John DeMoss.
So thank you, one and all, for being with us, those of you who are newcomers or visitors. It's our custom, I'll ask, what you want me to talk about today. But let me say this. This just means it's a courtesy, first of all. But one word, challenges of some kind, or what's in your heart, peace, ascension, whatever words are dear to you or important to you right now. But that is a courtesy that we ask. We've had it happen a couple times only, but where people decide to make announcements. And I'm glad that everybody, 99 out of 100 people that watch say, I get it. Wow, because we had to tell people no. You're not making an announcement. You're supposed to just be giving a word. But it's interesting because those people have already decided that they're coming here to make an announcement. One of them doesn't even attend here. We see them maybe once a year. So in their mind, I think I'm going to go to the Global Center today and make an announcement that the world is changing, which, duh, right? But you're going to come here because you're inspired to come here and tell us that. It's really strange. But 1 in 100 of you also goes, oh, well, wow, they should have been allowed. No, go somewhere else, Go to Safeway yourself if you want to do that and just get the microphone. Hi, clean up on Earth aisle number 3. Do what you need to do, but not here. We all need to create safer, cleaner, clearer environments in our lives. Letting people know here's what works, here's what doesn't work. So that's why, sometimes we have to say no to things like that. But I am asking, does anybody want to share what you want to learn about or hear about today? That would be great. Just single words or 2 words or whatever. Yes, dear.
Patience in the process.
Patience in the process. Got it. Devotion. Uh-huh. Responsibility. Co-creation. Okay, good. I repeated some of them back so folks online can hear, but either way, I try to repeat them during the talk as well so that folks have a chance to hear some of the things you've asked about. And it's always diverse, but it's important. It's something weighing on you, something going on in here. Clearly, the whole world is going, it's on the precipice of change. I mean, we're in it. And I think that what a lot of people underestimate is anytime you're making a change in your life, we just kind of think, well, there was that. I think I'll go to that. Like this afternoon, we have a workshop on co-creating a new life. So folks go, yeah, I would like to do that. If you think you just go from things not being great to creating a new life, you're actually confusing it with a drug high. Because that's just about the only thing that can go from one state instantly into, whoa, something else. Generally on planet Earth, there's a third piece, which is right here, the transition period, right? That's the toughest part. It isn't being stoned that's the toughest part, and it isn't being married these things we generally are blind to how miserable we are when we're in them. So they're at least so-so. This over here, the new life, is pretty cool. But getting from here to here, this is the tough part. This is in what usually involves the dark night of the soul. This is the sobering up. So this is the part that has to go cold turkey on some of this. This is the part that has to trust the familiar is no longer there. Is that making sense? Yeah, this is the transition piece is the toughest. And it does involve the dark night of the soul. So, I remember I shared either here or one of our live programs. A couple of months ago, I had a nice experience with Mother Mary. And I'm talking about the universal Mother Mary, not a tradition like a religious figure, but really, And she was explaining to me how she's coming into the earth plane, creating a grid of light. Now, we know we have grid systems on the planet. But what she's doing is sort of cleaning up some of them. Others, she's shutting them off. Others, she's activating brand new grid systems. But just like our cell phones work off towers that are on hills, she's activating certain hills, especially sacred hills, but hills and mountains. She's activating these to be almost like acupuncture points on the grid systems. So it's really, really cool. But she's doing that, not just to go, well, I just thought it would spice things up and look pretty. She's doing this because she's wanting to create like an ethereal dimensionality on the planet. It's a state of consciousness that her children, which are all of us, but technically it's all of us, but more importantly, relevant to us is light workers that are choosing to be awake. So she's creating a grid system that light workers can feed into, tap into, so that it's easier for them to be able to pick up those radio waves of spirit. This might sound out there, but letting us know what's happening, letting us know, move to the right, move to the left. The way the Israelites were guided by this holy Shekinah, the Holy Spirit, this cloud of light, that guided them into changes in their lives. So she's creating this, it's almost like let's call it like an ethereal radio wave that you have to be tuned into the right channel to be able to hear that. And the great news about that is that light workers around the planet won't really have to be as stuck as some people if the internet goes down. If food chains shorten, or if there's a COVID kind of thing, all those kinds of things. She's creating a means of us all staying in touch. Now, it's not a religious figure, as I said. This is the Divine Mother. This is the one that birthed the Christ in Jesus and is trying to birth the Christ in us all. So some things are really, some beautifully supernatural things are happening on the planet. But what's kind of cool is, I remember mentioning this a couple months ago, and some people are kind of like, oh, well, okay, that's nice. They didn't realize that I meant it. Then I said, keep watching, because she started appearing more and more and more. And then people all over the world are talking about feelings and visitations and images and photos that are popping up with images of her. This is because it's really happening. And just like she was here before her son, Jesus, was born, she's here again in advance to create this system, almost like a womb of light, so that we can all be birthed into that new level. But it also means there's a reason, and for lack of a better word, I have to say it's a grid of protection. But it's, in a sense, it's also a grid of communication. It's going to happen. The world is changing, and for all intents and purposes, it's collapsing. Some of you know, I've made predictions since the 80s, and all these things I've predicted, they're always happening. They're always accurate. Almost always. It's pretty cool. But it's not fun, in my opinion. It's not fun to say, okay, people will say, well, what are predictions for this coming year? It's not a fun career to be a prophet or psychic or whatever people call that. So that's not my first thing. My thing is teaching, healing, But sometimes I mention these other things, but only really when I see it's relevant or when I see that people aren't aware of some of these things. I've shared a few times about before COVID came, it was maybe 4 or 6 months or something before, I said, next year, a lot of death, a lot of economic things, and there came an illness, and there came the pandemic. I'm not saying that just to boast that, because it's not something you boast to predict something that's horrible for people's lives. But I also said travel's going to become a problem, so I stopped touring. And people around the world are going, why aren't you coming here anymore? I can't say, well, because ... because then people live off of the fear of it. But just recognize, like Jesus himself said, learn to read the times, read the signs. You know when it's raining because you see, a sailor knows a rain's coming because of certain images in the sky or certain atmospheric changes. It's the same. I just could feel that something was coming. It's not always where I get the detailed download. And, oh, that's interesting. Something I got last night, I just remembered now. Oh my God, I did. I got a download last night. And all I remember, though, is the guide, Jesus, I think it was, said, do you want the gruesome details? Those are the words I heard. And I went, gruesome details? That's all I remember. But if I remember more, I'll share it somewhere along the line. But that's funny. We'll wake up in the morning. Oh, that was great. Gruesome details, and your coffee or whatever, I'll have some gruesome details with my bagel, Anyway, it just popped into my mind. So sometimes it's the details and sometimes it's more of a broad thing. And with the travel, I knew travel is going to become a problem. And I knew it probably is connected to these other things I was predicting, but I don't recall if I knew exactly that. I don't recall. But just read it, feel it. There's going to be social upheaval. There's going to be economic changes and so on and so on and so on. Our job is actually not just to survive it. I guess we could use kind of a die to live or else you're living to die. Our job is to die of the old. We're all midwives, however, not just birthing the Christ. We're all also hospice workers. You better be a hospice worker before you expect to be the greatest midwife, because something's going to change today, meaning someone's life. A good accountant can help a person that wins the lottery man the helm, like deal with the changes that are coming in their life. You win the lottery, you need to get an expert on that, on how to handle it, because changes are coming. So in a sense, is that a hospice worker or is that a midwife? You see, you have to die well. So you die to live. And Jesus taught this concept of living waters. I'm giving you living waters that'll give you life. He didn't mean fountain of youth. He meant teachings. The teachings from my mouth, they pour out like living waters. But they're not teachings of the mouth, because that's still too literal. He's talking about the awareness of Christ, consciousness. See, the living waters are not just teachings. They are, here comes a download from the Christ, from the Holy Spirit of God. And we each will have that activated in ourselves. It's inevitable. God wills this to be. God wills that we remember who we are. So we have to become living channels, or else we're just living to die. People that think, why are you on earth? Oh, it's to get a puppy. No. To have children? No. To get a job? No. To retire? No. Anything you can conjure up, anything of the body, means you're actually still living to die. Because whatever you're striving for, grasping for, it's a thing, and things don't exist, they're holograms. So when you grab onto them and realize it's not there, ask some people in certain careers. Delta pilots since the 1990s found out that their retirements weren't there anymore. There's a lot of other corporations like that. This facade, this game, look, here's your retirement. Just keep working for us. Man, that's great. Just another 48 years and I'll be there. And you work. And then they go, oh, guess what? Our bad. See, we're living for this. And yet it's just living to die. Living for the false. When Jesus says, I give you living waters, he's really partly saying to get those waters, you got to go from this to this, and in the middle is a transition. Right? There's master, rabbi, how do I get to the kingdom of heaven? This is a guy who's attached to his wealth. So Jesus says, well, live the commandments. Oh, I do. I'm a good person. Jesus knew that. He was messing with him. So, you need to do ABC. Well, I do. I'm really good at that. Oh, okay. Let me think about. Oh, there's one more thing. He knew this. He's messing with the guy. Oh, there's one more thing. Give up all of your possessions. See, he's messing with him. He knows. Why did he ask for that? Because he knows that's what the guy's into. You see? I think a good counselor should have that same skill. A really good counselor should be aware of exactly those, vulnerable bits. I've seen this happen where, wealthy people, royalty, celebrities, come to me for counseling and they're like, we're really committed, Michael. We really want to work on our relationship. And let's say I eventually navigate to, if it's necessary, to die of the old. We love each other. And then, like a week later, they hate each other and back and forth, love-hate relationship. So it's happened to me where I say, okay. So are you willing to die of the old? Oh, yes. And they look at each other. And, we're committed, aren't we, honey? Yes, yes, we are. And everybody's all in the same groove. Everybody's ready to give up the past. I say, hand me your wedding rings. What? Wait, what? Yeah, hand me your wedding. And they're worth like $8 trillion. And they're like hesitating. You said you're open to do anything that's asked of you. I'll do anything. Hand me your wedding rings. This one time I had a couple that was here. They flew in to have a session. And we went for a walk and we're talking. And I took their wedding rings and just tossed them way out in the wilderness. I won't tell you where because you'll go out there with a metal. Tossed them way out. And they're both like, and then the startled, there's the bewilderment, then the anger. And I'm just sitting there enjoying the entire experience. See, because you're telling me you'll do anything. All I did was take a piece of metal from you. And you're about to kill me. And when they got freaky enough and hateful enough towards me, then I handed them back to them because I just threw a rock that I had snuck into my hand. See, and I do things like that. Are you really? Let's test this. Really? Are you sure? Let's test this. Now nobody will need a session now because you all know my game here. But he's messing with us. This, I don't just do to people. I do this to myself. When I say, for example, I want to write another book, let's say. Testing myself means, have I opened a blank manuscript on my computer to start typing into? So I will say to myself, well, it's been 3 weeks since you felt that inspiration. And then I'll say, start typing today by noon or erase the manuscript from your computer. So I do that to myself. You have to, because the ego loves a few things like procrastination, distraction, and so on and so on. So when you live this discipline, I'm about to learn how to meditate. Wait, didn't you say that 26 years ago when I first met you? Yes, but I know this time I'm really about to. See, it's like, and sometimes it's okay to say to people, you say that a few times a year for the last several years. I'm going to make you a deal. I hope you do start to meditate. But if you don't start by this weekend, don't ever tell me again that you're going to start to meditate. And of course they go, and they get all upset with you. So what? What you're doing is you're putting it on them. Do it or don't do it. You see? You're not enabling their own ego. Now, they might not like you for it, but you planted a seed that they'll always remember. Stop talking about it. Do it or don't do it. Yes, and they might be irritated at you, but you did what's right. And if you don't want to irritate them, and I'm not talking about being hurtful to people. I'm not talking about you saying you're just nothing but a procrastinator. I'm not talking about talking rude to people. I'm just saying, call them out. Come on, come out. Come out. You can do it. So Jesus did that with the rich man. Go and give up everything. What? But my father worked hard to earn our wealth, and he's passed it on to me. Wah, wah, wah. And Jesus knew all that. But he called him on it because he knew that's where his weakness was. That's where his attachments were. And we all have to get a little better at calling ourselves on these things. You're asking about things like devotion and co-creation, abandonment, these different concepts. And it's all part of what we're talking about here. Co-creation means I'm not here to talk anymore. I'm here to ask, what is the right thing for me to be and do today? What would you have me do? And then stepping into it. Not talking about one day when you will eventually do such and such. Do it. Step into it. Now, I'm well aware that saying it is easier than doing it for some people. Because addiction to procrastination, self-sabotage. There's all kinds of reasons. Comfort with our old ways. People are talking about ascension on this planet. You actually don't get to go from your old self to ascension. You have to die of your own. You can't. You don't get to drag your ego carcass, the carcass of your ego, onto some sort of light ship and ascend. This can't be there. When they go for passports on those ships of light, some people are waiting for, when they check your passport, they don't want a piece of paper, a booklet. They don't want any of that. And they will not accept people dragging on excess baggage. Did you check that baggage? Which is really just a recycle bin. It shreds. As soon as they say, can you check some baggage? It just goes through a shredder. Well, wait, will that be with me on the other side? Well, we'll have to see. Like an airline. Who knows? We can't guarantee it. But you might lose, $50,000 worth of luggage, and we'll send you a $50 bill. And So they can't, of course they're not going to guarantee that, because you are dying of the old. How much are you committed to dying of the old? Patience in the process, one of you said. That's right. Recognize. You see, if I just sit here and work on my patience and talk myself into being more patient, I'm working still. When I realize, why am I being patient? Because I know the outcome is coming and it's good. See, that's a different kind of patience. One is kind of like, well, where's my change? The other is, oh no, I know this is a good outcome. I know all is well. It's like knowing, that the game is rigged. You know this is going to turn out well. So that kind of patience, let's call it capital P, patience versus lowercase p. I get it. It's just a matter of time, and time's an illusion. We're on our way. The human race, it's in this process of ascension. People thought the ascension was just this festival of love and light, but it isn't. That is, towards the end, it becomes this festival of love and light. But the transition period means the old has to fade. You can't ascend. First of all, we're living in a symbiotic relationship on this planet, and in many ways a parasitic relationship. But we're in relationship with the planet. As we ascend, she ascends. As she ascends, we ascend. As we corrupt ourselves, so too does her body get polluted with that energy, okay? By that same token, we're looking at this process and we're realizing, if I have garbage, baggage, unhealed wounds, somewhere the planet is carrying some of that for me, because we're in this relationship. When I exhale, there are toxins maybe that I exhale that are going to accumulate. Just like the toxins that are in the atmosphere that create ozone problems. There's this toxicity. If we're all living in the light, if we could suddenly go snap and everybody was living in the light, the remembrance of who they are, it wouldn't take any time at all for the earth to breathe in our light that we're sharing with her in our inhale and exhale. Light out, light in, light out, light. She would just, and instantly transform. And all her creatures on the planet would transform. And when those critters are sensing, wow, the peace of God, they wouldn't even have to eat each other, because there would be no hunger in their bodies, because their bodies would start turning into light. So everything would be different. But in the meantime, toxicity. We're breathing in pollutants. We're exhaling pollutants. Pollutants meaning exhale like, God, I hate that person. That's polluting the air, the atmosphere, the energy, the ethers around the earth. So we're living in this relationship, but we're in an ascension process. Well, how do you ascend with still the same baggage? So this stuff has to go. The pollutants have to go. Our patterns, our fears, our angers, and so on and so on and so on. Some of us, maybe almost everybody on the planet, has at least one or more people that they're like, that's unforgivable. I don't like that person. That's fine. But remember when I said challenge yourself, the way Jesus challenged the rich man who was attached to his stuff? So sometimes you might even challenge yourself and say, well, I'm pretty angry at that person still. Understandable. Their external behaviors were not cool. They were either immoral or illegal or whatever, and it harmed you. I get that. On the outer world, that's what happened. Christ, the Holy Spirit, and God, they want us to not live from that world that tells us that what you see is what you are. The abuses, it's terrible. a victimizer and a victim. It wants us to not use our senses to discern or define who we are anymore. It's like saying, yes, that's what's happening on this level, but this level isn't even real. In ancient mythology, in the Kabbalah tradition, Kabbalistic tradition, there's a teaching that a lot of people don't understand yet. But one of the teachings is the original frequency of God, heaven, is where we once were and still are. But a part of us went into a dream, like a hallucination, coming through a veil that we manufactured, came through a veil, and then from that point on, the Elohim refract into various aspects or rays of light, and now we start splintering off. From one Christ, we start splintering off into 7 rays. Then eventually from 7 rays, down, and so on. It goes through this creation concept. But one of the points to this is that when you follow this, those 7 rays also become your 7 chakras. And all that said, 4 of them, which are your 4 lower chakras, represent the 4 directions and the material world, like 4 points of a cross. Because this world will crucify you. That's why there's 4 points of a cross, because you're talking about the material world. Earth is a place of crucifixion. God is a place or consciousness of resurrection. I'm not shaming the world. I'm saying people come here to die. If you carry any karma, any shame, any guilt of any kind from any lifetime, you still come back so that can kill you again, because that's the ego's tactics. I'm never going to let you live by finding the living waters of Christ or the living word of God. I'm going to kill you by your naughty deeds. So it's interesting because then we evaluate ourselves based on our deeds, and basically you're up creek. Because nobody can say I made it through with no negative energy. I mean, you're a baby and you could be like, I'm tired of this rattle toss. You know, you're like 1 and you had a sinful thought. You're not going to make it past the age of 1 without something. Can you change me? This diaper's getting kind of old, Mom, what's up with you? Watching your soaps or whatever, gone to work and you left me with some crazy neighbor. You're going to be upset. Something's going to make you judge. And as soon as you judge, that's original sin, which means the wages of sin are death. So everybody's fated to die, which I know doesn't paint a great picture of planet Earth. But there is an existence right here, hidden behind the bodies, hidden behind the trees, the rocks, the bodies, the buildings. Hidden behind is the frequency of God. Mary's trying to weave this tapestry, weave this web of light so that while we're here, we more and more start to feel that presence. Now, why didn't she do that earlier? Because if our consciousness isn't ready for it, they can't do anything. Spirit can't make you enlightened. You're made holy. So you were already made, good to go. But what did we do? We manufactured this idea that we're separate. And by the time you get to the lowest chakra, the root chakra, as these Kabbalistic and mythological teachings are, that physical chakra is our physical consciousness. So if you've reached all the way to your physical chakra and you're a physical person, anything that's material in this universe is showing its signs of being the densest you can be, meaning the furthest from God. As soon as something's dense, it's the furthest from non-dense. Light, love. See, it's not just physics like light, it's feelings like love. So the denser we are, the less love is present. The denser we are, the less God is present. Right? Make sense? So for us to ascend towards a higher frequency, more towards God, you have to die of the mortal self. And I'm not talking about death just of the body, kill ourselves, because you can die and you still reincarnate. So you're not free. It means your consciousness can't be caught up in it. You can still have a body. And you will find in this generation, there are going to be times when you think, I should feel lonely, but you don't, because you're raising to a different belief system. I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. Wait, I haven't eaten in 3 weeks. I'm not saying to do that. I'm not encouraging you to accidentally not eat. I'm saying there is a frequency. When I'm busy, I find that to happen. I'm like busy and doing things and writing a book or whatever I'm doing. And there have been times when I'm like, oh, wow, it's like 6 o'clock in the evening and I haven't eaten yet. So time for a Kit Kat bar or something, that's a major meal for me. So think about why does that happen? How can that happen? Well, you just forgot. No, it isn't that. At times you'll know, because if you're raising your frequency, you're not as dependent on things of this world that you used to be. Now, your head is still going to, because the ego's still living here, the head's going to say, oh, well, and you didn't eat all day, and that probably will throw your metabolism. It can't just allow you to realize, wow, you know why I didn't eat? Because I have food you know not of. And that's what you should be able to say. You know why I don't feel lonely? Because I have a presence you know not of. You know why I don't need to drink? Because I'm in a program. No, because I have a sobriety you know not. God and me, we're so good that the things of this world just don't seem to trigger us the way they used to. In all kinds of ways. I don't mean just trigger reaction. I mean trigger like sadness or any other deal, So I'm more and more getting tapped into God's presence. I'm not confusing this with people that dissociate. They forget to eat because they're so not in their body. There's a difference. One is I'm raising the vibration of my body, but I'm here. The other is I'm not even in my body. Do you see the difference? One is usually trauma or survival techniques. You walk around just spaced out, and that's not what I'm talking about. Because somebody's going to see this and go, God, I'm totally spaced. That means I'm almost home. No, you need to get in your body before you get out of your body in a proper way. You have to completely show up. And sometimes that's an apology and amends to God and to yourself. I'm here, so I guess that means I'm supposed to be here. Oh, but I wish I weren't. Thank you for sharing, but you are. It could have been an accident. Yeah, that's what happened. You're holy and not really needing any lessons here. They just accidentally dropped you, in after school class or whatever what do they call that? Detention. You're just in spiritual detention. It was an accident, No, you're here. Apologize to yourself. Why? Not because I'm calling you naughty. I'm saying to be able to say to yourself, I'm here and I haven't been here because I've been afraid, intimidated, or whatever words seem to arise, that this place is kind of intense and it scares me. So I've been a little tentative about being here. Tentative, that kind of energy. I don't really want to be here. Sounds like, this is logical too. If I dip a toe in a pool, I can tell the temperature. If I dive in, I'm really committed. If it's hot, it's hot. If it's cold, it's cold. And I'm going to suffer the consequence, right? Diving in sounds a lot more dangerous. And in a way it is. So we use that logic and we say, well, therefore, if I don't get in my body, I'm safer. That's actually not true. By not getting in your body, you actually attract predators. I'm not saying people in their body never have trauma and that people out of their body only experience trauma. I'm saying the majority of the time, that's the ticket. When you're in your body and really begrudgingly, but you're in your body, you have a dense drone sound because you're working on life. When you're in your body and you're awake and you're aware, I'm in my body, but I am not my body, the sound goes from this dull drone, bless you, to something very symphonic, very beautiful. It's a holiness. Someone is borrowing a body and not judging it. Oh, it's kind of nice. But there's also a sound for those who stay out of their body. That sound is dun, 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 dun. It's different. It's not a good sound, man. It attracts predators because people prey upon the weak. Like in the animal kingdom, the wounded, the elderly, or the children, the most vulnerable, the most susceptible. I'm not to shame you for this. In any way, I'm not doing that. I'm saying to see it. Okay, I think that this might be true sometimes, God. I see it. I'm sorry. please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Michael, this hasn't been the most helpful decision you made, being detached. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. You see, something along those lines. I'm committed to showing up. Now, you don't just go, I'm committed, done. I'm committed to showing up might mean now, because you're in the transition period from the old to the new, the transition period. And that's going to be more like, oh my God, I just had a dream of someone I haven't dreamt of in a long time. Oh my God, I just saw a photo. I didn't know I still had a photo of that person. See, the images might still come up inside or outside. The things that made you afraid. You might be turning the channel and see pictures of war. I remember one traumatic 4th of July when I was about 8. And I was sitting inside. They were waiting to light fireworks outside. This is at a cousin's house. And I was nothing to do, and I was flipping through a magazine. It was like a Life magazine. I saw a picture that horrified me. So much that I wouldn't go out to the fireworks. When we got in the car, I just curled up in like a fetal position in the back of the car as we drove home. And I just was terrified. Something I saw can trigger us. You see? Something you see a memory, a sound, a feeling, a song, and it can just trigger. Sleeping people either pretend that didn't happen, they brush it off, denial, they minimize it, deny it, and so on. Justify it in some way, it's silly. But as you start to wake up and get that middle section, it's like, I leave no stone left unturned. I'm feeling creeped out. What is this about? Not overanalyze it, but be open. What is this about? I'm a holy child of God. How is it that a photo triggered me? And, for children, it could be anything. It could be the thought of mortality. I remember people talking when I was a little kid, and they were talking about, yes, death. And then they start talking about death and horrors of death. And where do you go? We don't know. And some people, oh my God, some people even get buried and they're still alive. And all these creepy stories. And I'm like, I don't want to die. The way a kid would respond. That's what we all do without realizing it, even today. Hearing about ascension might be, wow, to some, and it might be, now that sounds freaky. It's a little scary. If I ascend, do I get to bring my puppy with me? No, but you won't care. Oh, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I have a contract with my puppy. It's a karmic contract that goes way back other lifetimes. Used to be my horse, rode me into battle, saved me, protected me. When bad guys got on, it bucked them off and, blah, 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 blah. And you just justify your attachment to your puppy. What if in the ascension process, your puppy turns to light? No, I will not have that. See, that's ego. How could you stop that? Why would you stop that? We're all getting to a point where we're expanding our consciousness so much that we're going to realize the things we thought we could never live without, you are going to live without. Whether it's people, family members, food, money, whatever. This planet is dying. The systems on the planet are dying. The better we are at that transition, be a good hospice worker for people around you and for yourself. What do you say to a hospice worker when, the people are standing around going, oh, the vitals are changing. Oh, they're going to probably pass away in a couple hours. Oh, the family members are coming in because they want you to put their name in the will. And all these kinds of things that are creepy and weird and whatever. How do you handle such? If you're a hospice worker and you see this happening, what do you do? Do you go, oh, I was talking to your doctor. Wow. You'll be gone in about an hour. And we don't really know where you're going to end up. Could be hell. Or you might have to come back. Do you have any family members you didn't like? Oh, you're kidding. Uh-oh. Be prepared. You're coming back. The person you were married to is now going to be your mother, or whatever, and it's just going to get worse for you. Is that, as a hospice worker, is that what you do? No, actually what you do is, oh my God, I just envy you. In an hour, you're going to be in the light. Wow. And I've said this to people, put in a good word for me. Because if they respect me as a spiritual teacher, and I say, you put in a good word, what did I just do? Affirm them. You leveled the playing field. I'm with you when you go. You're with me when you're gone, when I'm here, et cetera, et cetera. We're connected. And put in a good word, because I admire your light enough to say, put in a good word for me. Because if you think I'm a good teacher and I ask you to put in a good word, I must be affirming your goodness. That's the attitude we need to have in these times of change. I'm not saying it's easy, because seeing people dying of the old involves physical mortality, losses and deaths. It involves financial issues, losses of jobs. But we were always meant to be thriving. The concept of the Garden of Eden, for that matter. What's the Garden of Eden? It's many things. It's parable, and it's got many layers to its message. But one of them is you come into the garden and God says, I have given you everything you need in the garden. Now listen, that's a frequency. There's a frequency where you can see good, feel good, and have anything you want of goodness. Then there's a frequency of eating of the tree of judgment. You drop down to this level and you no longer seem to have everything you want. Why? Because you're no longer in the consciousness, because you didn't eat from the tree of life, you ate from the tree of death, the tree of judgment. Okay? So you drop, so now you've lost sight of this world. It's not gone. You lost sight. Why? Because you changed your consciousness to a deeper, darker, kind of denser vibe through judgment and so on. So what are we going to do? How do we get back there? Well, love and forgiveness. Hospice work. Help other people die of the old and be birthed into the new. Trust in the mother. Call upon the Holy Spirit's help. Call upon the Christ. Don't call upon even your favorite teachers. Don't call on me. I'll send you a bill. Okay? Call on God. I'm joking about that. But call on God. Do you know that if you even call on Yogananda, he's going to help you? You call me and I'm going to help you. But what does Yogananda say? The highest goal, the highest consciousness you can reach, Christ consciousness. So do you think he wants you to call on Yogananda consciousness? If he already told you Christ is the highest, why would he want you to settle? Go for the highest. It's okay if the highest for you is here versus here. That's okay, because that's where you're at. Don't shame yourself, but just recognize your worthiness to call upon the Divine Mother. Well, she might be busy. Come on. Trust, call, try it. Jesus as your brother, or the Holy Spirit as your Divine Mother, or God in general, if you want to use that term. But as high as you can, reach out for the highest consciousness you can. So as I was saying, the Garden of Eden, that's a shift in consciousness. And Adam and Eve, they fell in the garden. They call it the fall. It means they shifted consciousness, the fall from one level down, falling to another level. So that's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying, now Mother Mary and others, there's even a wave of angels that nobody has even heard of. There's another wave of angels that have come in to help this process. And they're helping to wire this system, this grid around the planet. And it's a system that is right here. It's a wavelength right up here, just a notch above our consciousness. But as you love, heal, forgive, help people, be of service, your consciousness is tapping into that grid. Why? Because you're going from the Garden of Eden fall back to the garden. From falling out of the garden, being cast out of the garden, you're achieving the consciousness of getting back to the garden. So back to Eden. It's quite beautiful if you think about it. Back to Eden. Oh, and Eden was, that's right. Eden's that place where anything you want is available. You see? So it's not like you just worked spiritually or religiously to get to another level of consciousness. You've actually reached a consciousness where whatever you need to know is available. Whatever you need to have. The Holy Spirit is telling us, I will materialize food for you. It's not about just storing up food. Yes, store up some food and water in case there's a hurricane in your area or whatever else goes on in the world. Yes, have provisions, first aid kits and whatever. That's fine. But she's also saying the people living in that grid, and I say this, I don't think you're going to find a YouTube video, Mother Mary and the new grid. I don't think that's on the line yet. But that I'm just saying it because I can see it and I know it. So the more we tap into that grid, you're tapping into a higher level of consciousness, which is synonymous with Eden. And in Eden, you have all you need. Therefore, this is what the book of Revelation is referring to, where some will be saved from the coming changes. The book of Revelation, there's 22 chapters, and they represent each chapter, in a sense, is symbolized the tarot, master arcana in the tarot. There's the judgment card, there's the sun, all these, the white horse, all these symbolisms found in the book of Revelation, they're in the tarot major arcana. What's interesting in the Hierophant, these symbols, and the death card, all these, the tower, that's in the book of Revelation. Babylon has fallen. All these symbols are in that major arcana, which is for reasons I can't go into right now. But the brilliance, the mind that downloaded that artwork, that's really a mirror of our spiritual self and our psyche. So in that arcana, in that chapters of Revelation, 22, I would love to tell you, guess what? Tomorrow we enter 21, which is great because that's like great. Everybody's going home. 22 is like, oh, everything's great. I'd love to tell you, but I can't. We're only in like the first quarter way through. All the rest is still coming. I'll talk about this maybe in our Zoom program tomorrow. We have a Monday Zoom program. It's open. If you're in our Friends of Michael Mirdad Facebook group, then you can get access to our Monday programs, 11 till like 1-ish. And then we also have a Daughters of Heaven Facebook page group that also would let you into some of theirs, which is a couple times a month we have a program there. My point to that is not to advertise it. It's to say somewhere soon I'm going to talk about that where we are in this, because we're just about to reach the next piece of the book of Revelation. We're all just about to enter the next piece, and it's really pivotal. I mean, once we hit this next notch in this movement, once we hit that next click, then this won't matter. The first few chapters we've been through, now we're really entering the big stuff. And it's all happening now. And it's all happening, like I said, 2020, the way that was going to look, and it all happened, like I said. And then I said 2022, 2024. These are, describing, not because the numbers 22 are good or bad. I'm saying 2024. I said the last year or two should be okay, but 2024 is going to be intense. And it will be. If we can make it through this year with as much, not protecting and denial, I'm talking about consciousness shifting, that would be really good. Because the following year would probably mirror to us the good that we did this year. Mess this year up and more is coming. Probably 2 years from now, even more intense. But right now, our job is to be good stewards, good midwives, good hospice workers to each other. Being able to tell people when they say, oh my God, I lost my job. You're allowed to say to them, isn't that the job that you told me you hated for the last 20 years? I don't mean to say that because you don't want to sound cold, but your consciousness should know it and gradually work it with them. Well, that's a bummer. I'm sorry. Be there for them. But at some point, where are you going to go now? Talk to them, midwife them to the new life. How about work that you always wanted to do? You see? But the thing of occupation and retirement, those things are dying. Government is dying, in case you didn't know that. Economy, all these things are changing. Not a little. They're going to all disappear. All the systems that originally controlled and ran this world because they were hijacked by the ego. These things all have to go. Do you or don't you want to ascend? Then you can't have non-ascension. Do you or don't you want to go home into the love of God? Yes, you can't have hatred. I'm not I hope being a buzzkill here. I'm saying, do you want these? Do you want abundance? Then you got to let go of poverty thinking. Do you want true, fulfilling relationships? Then you got to let go of codependent relationships. Isn't that obvious? But the transition, dysfunctional relationship, nice, fulfilling, great. How do I go there to there? It's not a door you walk through. It's a process you walk through. And it's not easy because it means having a conversation with this person. Dysfunction, hey, can we talk? Sometimes that doesn't go well. They might leave. Oh, let's go back to this. Nice. Really nicely dysfunctional. Everybody just pretend we're okay. At some point, you're going to get here, now or later. Well, I don't want it to be now. No problem. You come back in another lifetime and do it again. Does that feel fun? No, then go. Just do it. Have the conversation. They might leave. Let them leave. Talk to an attorney before you have the conversation. Be prepared. But be courageous to walk through that. You're asking about that word devotion. Devotion means to God, but it also means to your true self. When you're devoted to God, you think that's, I pray and I trust, love God. But how do you love God without loving yourself as well? You can't say, I love God, but I hate myself, because in you is God, which means you're condemning God, but in a passive-aggressive way. You have to be willing to say, I love God. Oh, I'll do anything for you, God. You're only saying that because you can't hear him. Think about it. You know you're not going to get any, wash the dishes. Oh, I didn't want to wash the dishes. Well, I'm just surrendering to you. Anything, your will be done. Nope, didn't hear anything, so I can go back to doing things my way. Now imagine God's in you and ask yourself the behaviors of this moment, actions, thoughts, behaviors, etc. The things going on in my mind right now, do they reflect the tree of life or the tree of death? Does this feed my light or my darkness? Don't judge or hate yourself for it, just see it. And sometimes you can say, well, yes, I know it feeds, that ego part of me, but I'm just not all the way done with that yet. And just own it rather than pretend it's not there. Own it. Give it to God too. Whatever your habit, you could be a chain smoker, which is fine to do what you want to do. But if I'm a chain smoker and every time I light up, I say, I'm giving this to you, God, believe it or not, some amount of that habit, addiction or whatever you want to call it, is fading. The day's going to come when you're like, wait, what? It's just not there. The habit, the addiction, the craving, it's just not there. But this could be anything. It could be coffee. Oh man, I have to have 2 cups of coffee before I can function. Wow, I'm sorry for you. I don't even know. I've never had a drink of coffee, but I don't get up in the morning going, oh my God, man, I can't function. How is it that we're not just alive when we wake up? How is it you're not feeling inspired to do a day? You got to have a thing to do it. That's a false God. Because when you think caffeine or coffee wakes you up, you're actually thinking something else outside of you has power over you. That is the definition of a false God. Because only God has power over you, right? Only God is greater than you. It created you. So anything you think has power over you is a false God. No shaming of it. Just see it and go, that's bizarre. Wow, that's just bizarre. I'm actually making this thing have power over me. There are people who can't live without something or other, another person or what. Just to be able to see it and go, okay, I saw my false gods of today and I'm prepared to let them go. I'm giving them to you, God, and I ask for your presence to replace them. Where I thought I needed coffee, let me feel your presence. I didn't say don't drink the coffee. I said just go to the prayer first. God, this is kind of funny. Because I noticed I get kind of excited when I hear in the kitchen, the little, I start to feel all bubbly and excited over dirty water. So it's like, well, I see it. Wow. It's kind of funny. I'm giving this to you. And you walk over to that cup and you say, I'm giving this to you. Help me to see it through yours, feel it through your presence. Bless this. Call in God's presence and drink the coffee. It's fine. Because Jesus told you not to not do naughty things. What he's asking you to do is bring in God's presence. Give to God what's God's and give to man what's man's. It means do the prayer with God, then drink the damn coffee. Because now that you've plugged in with God here, this won't matter. And eventually, you won't need as much. One day you might just realize, I haven't had coffee in a week and I didn't even realize it. It's kind of cool. because you're shifting to another wavelength. People around you might say, aren't you the person that used to drink coffee, several coffees in the morning, and you don't drink it? No. Aren't you the person I used to see in the alleys behind the bars all drunk? Yeah, it's just not there anymore. It's kind of cool. But people will try to pin you into the old, but you're done. You're just different. And it's all about that shift in consciousness, which most easily comes about by us surrendering our old consciousness to God, our old lifestyles. So devotion isn't just to God, like some religious practice. Devotion means, am I devoted? Am I committed to seeing and behaving as though God is within me? It doesn't mean religious. It doesn't mean you wear a white robe. It doesn't mean you never eat again and so on. It's just a state of surrender. Whatever I'm going through, I'm giving to you. Whatever I'm feeling, I'm giving to you. Whatever I'm doing, I'm giving to you. It's an attitude of surrender. And in that presence is invited in and allowed to come in, which is very much like the person who's passing away, and there's a point where they start to see the tunnel of light. Look what happens. Look what happens. So often the reports of, God, her face started glowing. It was like there was a light shining on her face. What is that? There's a shift from fear to trust, fear to love. And we all bring that in our own different way. An act of affection, a kiss of kindness, a hug, embrace, handing someone a tissue. It varies per person, per incident, but are we even trying to be that presence? Not my will, but yours be done in this hug. Not my will, but yours be done when I'm making dinner for people. Let your will be, just learning to stay in that attitude of surrender. Your will. I am your will, and I'm becoming your will more and more every day. And it feels great. You go to sleep with that, knowing that and giving thanks for that, you'll wake up more likely in a great mood and not need anything else to supplement where you didn't see that goodness. Please take a few centering breaths. I noticed when John began playing the latter song, one of the songs, there was sound effects of water. And that's one of the things that just inspired me to talk about this piece. The waters of life. Eating of the tree of life. Breathing as we inhale, I am relaxed on the exhale. A few times in our mind. You're affirming your centeredness, your relaxation. The next few breaths, I am, but change it to at peace. See, relaxation is of the body, peace is of the mind. So I'm not only relaxed, I am at peace. Learn to know the difference between human body experiences and spiritual ones. A lot of people don't know, like, Kabbalah, when spelled with a capital letter, is talking about divine or spiritual Kabbalah versus the human. When you spell the word self with a capital S versus lowercase, it's talking about something else. Let's start identifying with that higher level. Imagine your life the last year or so. And you're standing on a hill, perhaps a desert hill. Look across the vast wilderness, the desert, and just see all the things of your life and this world that you can plant just sitting out there in the desert on different hills. There's that breakup. There's that job loss out in the desert, these various things. Losses, changes, challenges. See them all out in that desert. And in the distance, there's a nice high hill. Can't see what's on the other side. But let's imagine ourselves walking towards that hill slowly. And as we do, look at the things that are in your desert, in your life. Look at them. And as you're seeing them, there's that job loss to the right, or there's something to the left, something in front. As you're seeing these things, just imagine the temptation to say, if I had my way, I would still have that job. I would still have that person. I would still be selling something at a certain store, whatever it is that's popped up in your mind. Don't just see them, now walk past them and identify how you would have preferred it going. I'm not saying that's a good or bad way. Just see how you preferred that it would go. Spend a minute walking through that. What you would have preferred happening. Look at it. A minute more to get to the other hill, but don't go up over it yet. But take a minute past all the things that are popping up in the desert. It could be something that happened in childhood. The love you didn't get is sitting in the desert. The degree you wish you would have completed. Child you wish you would have had. The partnership you wish you would have had, or the partnership you wish you didn't have. See all these things. Arriving to the other hill. Turn around and look back over the desert. You may have transformed some of those things and you may have left them the same, but look back and hear the voice of Jesus or the Holy Spirit saying to you, all of those were wells of water. They could only quench your thirst for a moment. But, my beloved, you have the right. Go back and live in that desert again. Go create another thing, another job, another whatever, if that's what you choose. Or turn back around and look at the hill and you don't know what's on the other side. And begin journeying over that hill and know this, you're reaching the promised land. It's not in any way a quick fix. It's not temporary. This is your new life. This is the life that comes from being taught by the waters of life, healed by the waters of life, coached by the waters of life. This, oh my God, look at it. How great can it look in your mind? It depends on your beliefs. How beautiful is it? How vast? Is it only the size of this room? There you are, my God. This is the Edenic world that I once lived in and walked away from and thought that somehow the desert was enough. How could that? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I'm so sorry. I'm not only sorry, God, I'm so sorry that I would live with that level of settling. I was starving your child and children, God. And I was settling for less. And look at this. In this world that I'm looking at, everything I could want. Housing, food, life. I don't see any dysfunctional relationships in this world, this new place. I don't see any animal feeding off the carcass of another. I don't see codependence. I don't see fire and brimstone. I don't see karma. I don't see illness. What do I see? And what I see is actually there, dimensionally speaking. It's a place I'm beginning to tap into. And every good day and every miraculous moment, every healing is me tapping into this world. I will not allow a good healing, a sexy relationship, a windfall of money to supplement this. Those are still wells in the desert. I want all of it. Your presence, God. And if I have you, I have all else. How could I feel your presence and still be hungry? How could I feel your presence and have a creative block? It's impossible. Home I am. Help me to live from this place from now on. And God says, this has always been yours, but it says one more thing. If you look back at the desert of the past, you have the right to go live there. But if you just think back, I would appreciate it, God says, if you would just whistle to anyone that was left back there and bring them over the hill with you. And so it is. Thank you. I pray this is really sunk in, feeling integrated. This is the life and the world we're all heading for, okay? So please keep going in that direction. You'll go in that direction maybe for a period with hesitation, but eventually it starts really making sense and becomes more and more a part of our lives. But that's called integrating it. There's the little bit of doing here and there to have little nice moments, that's nice, but getting to a place where we become the change. We become the consciousness. That's the ideal thing. Thank you. So we're going to do our collection in a moment. Wait, don't stir yet with all that. Collection at our closing prayer. But while we're in that state, want to stay in as deep a state as you can, but yet still being here. The talk or the meditation, you gained what? What did you hear or learn or experience that made a difference for you? Yes?
To go within with courage and honesty and see what brings conflict and know what it is and thus be able to change it.
Yeah, so that concept of courage to go into this place, knowing you want that higher, but being able to be honest about the pieces that are in the way and change them, right? Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? A lot of you are still, several of you are still eyes closed. And so take your time, integrate that. How did you do with that desert? Did any of you feel strong temptation to go back? I would hope not. There's all this, no, but I think I'll go back to that, desert. Yes?
Looking back and whistling and bringing the other people with you over the hill.
You liked the closing piece of, don't just run for the promised land, invite one or more other people with you. Absolutely, yes.
I woke up this morning with my own vision of, well, actually sort of a memory of my whole life and the people who meant the most to me through my life, like the different teachers and leaders and, different people I had in my life that inspired me, even my husband, because he was a big inspirer for me.
Well,
And I went through all of that, and it was so funny, because I woke up with it. It was like I had met all of them along the way, and I finally got to the point where I said, okay, now I am doing this for others.
nice.
And it was really, it's so in alignment with what you just
Yeah, totally. And part of what she's sharing that I think is really noteworthy is the idea of not just I attained, I let go of the past, I attained such and such, and it's over. And how do you bring the program to others? Whatever you're attaining, how are you bringing that to other people? Everything you attain, goodness, you feel great, then smile at someone. If you feel that great, paint a picture. Smile at someone. Tell someone they look great or whatever, positive. Bring that feeling to others. If you don't use it, you will lose it. Share it if you want it to become part of you permanently. And I'm talking about money and everything. Smiles, joy, money, cashola. Share it. It isn't yours. You're a steward of everything. And if you really believe in God, then you believe in the abundance of God. Share. Share the wealth. Share what you have. But also your joy. It's great if you can give $20 to somebody who has nothing. But sometimes if you don't have that and you share a story, a smile, a hug, you're changing the person's life as much as the one you gave $20 to, if not more. All the good we share makes a difference permanently. Okay, we're going to take up our collection. Please take your love offering, being as generous as you can be. The ushers will help us. And the bags are for your love offerings. Put them in the bags. The baskets are for any extra donations, whether that's change in the bottom of your purse or a winning lottery ticket, whatever you have that you're hanging on, you're welcome to share any extra gifts. The baskets we use towards projects or sometimes people of lesser means, whatever we feel inspired to share it with. All right? So take your love offering, hold that to your heart, and truly feel it as we share together our blessing, prosperity blessing. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. So while they're passing those out, this will only take a minute and we'll do a closing prayer. While they're passing those out, a couple quick things. Volunteers, anybody that wants to volunteer, you can maybe talk to Sharon here, beautiful blue sweater. Wave, Sharon. Talk to her because she didn't know it, but she's taking names of any volunteers that are going to help us this week. We're going to do some Christmas decorations, take down some of the Christmas decorations. So if you're willing to help, that would be great. If you want to become a member of this center, official member, you don't have to, but if you want to become an official member, you can do that any time of any week. You just call the office and they'll tell you how to go through the process to do that. It's pretty easy. But if you want to become a member, we have our annual meeting in a few weeks. And that's where members only come in. It's important to get your membership. If you do the membership the day before, they may not process it. You'll get to the door and be told you can't be in because it's only for members. Okay? So keep that in mind if you want to attend the annual members meeting. It's just basically, it's a State of the Union address. You know, it's just updating, sharing. There's, you know, this kind of center, it's kind of interesting. A lot of those member meetings are these strange, volatile kinds of experiences with people, all kinds of stuff going on. And for us, it's like, everything's still great. Bye. You know, it's pretty simple, which is good news. But sometimes we, in those meetings is when we affirm somebody who's a board member. If they haven't been affirmed by the members, they get affirmed as such and so on. Sponsorships are something we only talk about in January. We don't do like churches and spiritual centers that constantly do fundraisers, you know, where you have some chart where there's a little horse, you know, and you make it move to show you how much we're, you know, I can't do that. That's not me. So we've never done that as a center because it's just too silly for me and my brain. You know, we're almost there. Let's go. $10 more. And, you know, we just ask everybody in January, if you can be a sponsor, we'd greatly appreciate it. It just means $50 or $500, whatever you can afford, but you commit to it through the year so that we don't have to ask for it all year long. We appreciate the Sunday donations, but that's pretty much all we're asking for. The cards are in your seat backs in front of you to become a member if you want to become a member, but also sponsorship is in front of you. So if you're just committing to $50 or $100, $500, whatever it is, we would appreciate it. You can choose what program to sponsor, and we'll only announce this for a couple of weeks, and then we'll let it go for the year. But you can choose to be a musician sponsor if you like the musicians. Of course, if you don't, that's fine too. You can help us. The more you give us in the musician program, the more we can pay our musicians. But there's also landscape and you know, all kinds of. There's like 6 to 8 different sponsorship programs, so you can choose on those. Okay. And speaking of which, that didgeridoo there, Mr. John played. By the way, let's thank John for his performances today. And John's worked on this didgeridoo recently, and he signed it. It's for sale if somebody wants to get it. It's worth, usually in the stores, it'd probably be $200 to $300. So it's $180 if somebody wants it. You're helping the center, but we'll also gift some of that to John as well. But yeah, fantastic. And it's beautiful. If you couldn't see it, it's got all these stones embedded into it. But with it comes 1 year of didgeridoo training with John Dumas privately. Sold! There you go. Okay. And next Sunday, we have the workshop. We're starting our online course on spiritual teachings of the Bible and the lost books of the Bible. First time we're sharing that as an online course or as a course. So that workshop's happening. Today we have Consciously Co-Creating a New Life. This afternoon, it'll start in about an hour, and you can get a bite if you want, but come back here and you can take that workshop with us. It's online as well for those of you who want to get home or are home. It's online as well, but I'll be doing that in here. I think we already have 150 people or something already signed up, but it's absolutely life-changing. It really is good material on, you know, co-creating with God a new life. So there's all kinds of really cool exercises and examples of using these things that'll make a difference. The last couple of announcements, let's see. We're going to be starting the first Sunday of every month is our prayer circle, where it's kind of a devotionalism. So we spend some time in prayer for several hours of the day. We'll give you more information about that, but you can go on our website and read more about it. And if you're not on our mailing list, you should get on it, please, so that we can send you newsletters and ads of what's coming up so you're informed of what's going on here. All right? During the day from 12 to 2 in the sanctuary here, we have videos free going on. Alan Cohen or myself or whomever they choose for the day. Usually 1 or 2 different videos that they'll play. So, and you can request something in some cases, but not always. Okay. If you're watching us, social media, YouTube, Facebook, however, thank you for joining us online. And keep in mind that, you can try out other things. We have a whole, like dozens and hundreds of these presentations on our YouTube channel. So you can go to that to learn more. And remember, the crystal bed sessions are available. So in the foyer up front, there's a sign-up sheet if you want to get a crystal bed healing session. They're outstanding. They really are. Then you can sign up for it and they can get you scheduled for this week or whenever you like. I think that's it for the announcements, unless one of the board members says otherwise. But we appreciate you being here with us. And I pray that this has been really good and informative, and especially the meditation. And oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate the music, John. Always, always in the zone and adding to what we experience here. Please stand for our closing prayer. Remember, we have our chaplain prayer circle when we're done with the service. After a few minutes of people chatting and clearing out, then there'll be a prayer circle done. If somebody's in need, you can ask, or you can email us, and the chaplains will all do prayer for you, okay? Breathing in all that we've experienced, the impact of what we learned today. We either die of the old so we can live, or we're just living to die. Choose whom you will serve. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Thank you, and peace be with you all. You're welcome.